Grosjean and Sorokin are against Prix. And now, Le Champagne!
The European round in Formula 1 is over after an amazing round in Italy, which saw Ferrari back on the top step in front of the Tifosi. We are now heading into the flyaway event in Formula 1, and what better way to kick it off than with the Singapore Grand Prix. The political side of Formula 1, as Martin Brundle calls it, as we leave Europe and we head to what's looking like the finishing line of the 2019 Formula 1 season. The driver and the Constructors' World Champion is about to be crowned in most likely Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, but we are heading to Marina Bay. Before that, an incredible race, the peak of driver physicality in one of my favourite races, and I'm certainly not just saying that because I went there last year. So you might have seen at the start of the episode, that was clips of my trip to Singapore. Now, I will be talking a little bit about that through the episode and comparing it to this year's race. I got most of me crying out the way with before the episode, but if I start crying in this episode, well, you know, just apologies for that. I'll try not to, but, you know, it's a college try. So yes, I'll absolutely love this track. 23 corners around the Marina Bay streets, the streets around Singapore. Touching on a 2-hour race, makes 308 kilometres of race distance. We are 88 miles north of the equator here in Singapore. Now, racing at night does not make it any easier in terms of temperature. Now, it probably being in during the day would make it a lot more hotter, but it is still absolutely really steaming hot at night. It makes it around 35 to 40 degrees Celsius on a night with about 85% humidity. Now, when I went, you know, you did what you did during the day, get into the track, then you had to change your top because you were literally sweating all the way through. And that's not just me, that's everyone. Ask whoever's been. It was an incredible race, really, really hot, really great to see. With that, and obviously making it a street circuit as well, it is so hot. Drivers on average lose around 2 kilograms of body mass. That is from the water hydration and everything they've taken on throughout the weekend. So drivers need to stay on top of that. It's also a challenge for them and the teams as well. Obviously keeping all the mechanics cool and things like, and the car cool of course. Now I always think that driver physicality has to peak at this race. Now when a driver heads into a season, they will think, or they should think, that Singapore is their ultimate goal. You know, the top, the Mount Everest, the thing that they need to get their physicality ready for this race. It is so tough on the drivers. You know, you think about Monaco, you think that a driver can get, you know, more out of the car than normal conventional races, more that they can have more of an input in the car. Well, this race, I'd say, is the most important for drivers to get the most out of the car, because they are balancing the car, but they're balancing the elements and themselves as a driver, and they can really come out if they are the fittest and they are more physically, you know, capable than other drivers. And that's why I think the veterans have more of a chance around here than the ones that have just come into Formula 1. But obviously a great track nevertheless, and a really great competitive edge. A great spectacle to see from the telly, but of course it is much better if you are at the track. Now, as I said, I will be talking about the 2018 race and my experiences there. But before we get into the 2019 edition this weekend, let's head through the driver standings after the race in Monza. Lewis Hamilton extends his lead of the World Championship with 284 points. Valtteri Bottas is in second place with 221 points. Max Verstappen 185 after his amazing drive in Monza. Last place, 2 in the points. Fourth place is Charles Leclerc, the biggest changer in the championship. After his win, he leapfrogged his teammate Sebastian Vettel, who sits in 5th place with 169. Pierre Gasly, the recently demoted Red Bull driver at Toro Rosso, sits on 65 points. Carlos Sainz is on 58 in 7th place. Daniel Ricciardo is on 34 points in 8th place, tied with recently promoted Toro Rosso driver for Red Bull, Alexander Albon, also on 34. Danny Kvyat is in 10th place, rounding off the top 10 with 33 points. Nico Hülkenberg slips down with 31 points. Kimi Raikkonen is tied with the Renault driver on 31 in 12th place. Sergio Perez is on 27 points in 13th position. Lando Norris, the second of the McLaren driver, is in 14th position with 25 points. Lance Stroll is on 19 points in 15th. Kevin Magnussen is with 18 points in 16th, beating his teammate who is on 8 points, 10 points behind on 17th position. Antonio Giovinazzi with 3 points in 18th, and the only scoring Williams driver Robert Kubica in 19th, and his teammate, still yet to score a point, is the British F2 champion driver of George Russell. Now, I'm really behind this guy, just to kick everything off. I'm really behind this guy to score points, and I do think that he possibly could do it this year. Now, he's never driven Singapore. Obviously, in Formula 2, they don't drive this circuit, but I still think that, as I say, the physicality of the guy and what I've seen from him in the races can really pull through, and I hope that he does score his first point in Formula 1, and obviously then that would extend it to making every driver have scored a point. Happened last year, I think it was Sergio Sirotkin got his first point in the Italian Grand Prix last year, which meant that everyone had scored points for the first time in about 20 odd years in Formula 1, so I hope that happens again. Obviously, British driver were all behind him. Now, as I said, with Singapore, it is a really driver physical circuit. They're in the gym all the time working. I think it's really good to follow the drivers on Instagram because, a lot of their stories, you actually see them working, in the saunas and things like that to get themselves fit for Singapore. I think my most favourite one to watch was Sergio Perez because I say he was in the sauna, he was doing his gym work in the sauna, and that's how important they actually see Singapore. It's really important to battle the elements, and it's really, really great. It's a really great spectacle to see. Obviously, I was just saying night race as well, the second proper night race that we'll have alongside Bahrain. Last year's edition was won by Lewis Hamilton, who lined up with Max Verstappen in second of where they finished in the race. Lewis Hamilton qualifying set the blistering pace in Formula 1, and after he won the race, he had a 40-point lead on Sebastian Vettel, and everyone says that that's where he basically effectively won the World Championship. It was looking good for the Weltmeister heading after Germany. It really fell apart, and as I say, Singapore, he really sealed the deal. Singapore kicked off with the first proper night race back in 2008, and that was won by Fernando Alonso of Renault. A very controversial win, as you remember. Everyone knows what happened in Crashgate, is that what it was called? About two-thirds through the race, Nelson Piquet Jr. deliberately crashed after being instructed by Flavio Vettori, the team principal of Renault. To do this, he crashed just before going in the tunnel in Sector 3. This brought out the safety car for the remaining laps of the race, where Fernando Alonso was leading. That means that he effectively won the race and put Renault and Fernando Alonso in a better chance of winning the 2008 World Championship. Of course, he didn't. It went to Lewis Hamilton of McLaren at the end of that year, but it definitely put him in a better contention to win. After it was found out, after the FIA did an investigation, it was found that Nelson Piquet Jr. was instructed by the team and was found guilty. Nelson Piquet Jr. was given a fine and a ban from Formula 1 for a year. Flavio Vettori was banned indefinitely from Formula 1, and that also led to the administration and collapse of Renault. And then about 5 years later, they came back into Formula 1, but they're still feeling, the cracks of that obviously after the major fine, and obviously most of the personnel, including Flavio Vettori, being banned from Formula 1 indefinitely, and Renault Sport receiving a ban in Formula 1. So obviously that was a big story heading into Singapore, and as I say, the first event, so they had that really big, margin to kind of hang over their head. One of my favourite races in Singapore was 2012. Sebastian Vettel took his win, dedicated to Sid Watkins, the late FIA doctor that passed away in that weekend. That was also the race that Lewis Hamilton decided that after an oil leak with that McLaren, that he'd had enough of the team and decided to have a new venture with Mercedes. So obviously I love finding out why drivers did what they did, and that's why. So obviously a really great race from that. Red Bull have done well here before. 2015 was also a standout year. A great race by Sebastian Vettel, who took the win. His third win in that season, obviously his redemption season, or what he calls his most successful year, which I don't know how you can say that because he won 4 championships with the team. But nevertheless, he said it was really good. Obviously, to get that Ferrari to win and beat Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, was absolutely incredible. And obviously, his first season at Ferrari, as I just said. 2017, we cannot forget the first lap calamities that happened. Before we start, that was really annoying for me because if I was there a year before or that happened a year after, I would have literally been in front of me where I was sitting. That would have been right in front of me. I hear that. But yes, never sorry. So Kimi Raikkonen, Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen collided on the start-finish straight. Max Verstappen blamed Sebastian blamed Max. Kimi was just not bothered like normal Kimi is. He just went to have an ice cream, especially in the Singapore heat. But that was a big calamity in the first rain out Singapore Grand Prix. We all knew that there was going to be problems. Everyone was saying that on Twitter before that actually happened, and it happened, and it was absolutely incredible to see. And yeah, just absolutely amazing. Lewis Hamilton was actually on the back foot in that race, and Sebastian Vettel had the backing, and he was the favourite to actually win that edition. But as I say, he made a mess of it at the start of the Grand Prix. Also, as well, he was basically, if he won that race, he could have taken the fight a bit more to Lewis Hamilton in the World Championship. Big move for Max Verstappen as well. Obviously, a lot of the more of the crash kid kind of name came back to the Dutch driver, and Kimi Räikkönen, just being Kimi, thought it was a normal crash. So it's had its really big controversies over the years, but has had some amazing races. As I've just said, Lewis Hamilton's amazing qualifying lap last year, which obviously I was there to watch. It was also great to get behind Max Verstappen as well in the 2018 edition. He was really hounding Lewis Hamilton for the lead. So yes, we've had an incredible races around here. This is the 12th edition, and let's hope that it is a juicy one like we've had in the past. So kicking off with my predictions, in third place, I'm going to say the Thai British driver of Alexander Albon at Red Bull. Now, Alexander Albon, since he came to the team, has had a good run. He's had 2 consecutive races where he's been pushing and he's beaten Max Verstappen. Now, granted, Max Verstappen, he had a crash in Belgium. He collided with Kimi Räikkönen, and also he started at the back with an engine penalty in Monza. But nevertheless, it is still good to say that you are the one that's been leading the point scoring for Red Bull. His record stands at 100% of race finishes that he has beaten Max Verstappen, so it is good from him. As I just said there, a 6th place in Italy was good, and he's definitely getting his claws out and showing that he is really strong. He was battling all the way through with the Haas drivers through the Italian Grand Prix, and I do think that he will have a good race here. Now, of course, Alexander Albon, as I mentioned, with George Russell in F2. F2 drivers don't race here, so to my knowledge, Alexander Albon has not raced professionally here, but obviously it is close to his home in Thailand, so it is quite a home race. A lot of people will be coming over, I would have thought, to support him. Red Bull have had some good races here before. With the carbon MONACO chassis that Red Bull do bring, it is good around here. They can really throw it into the corners, and obviously the lack of straights, bit more than Monaco, but the lack of straights and very Monaco-esque should give the advantage to Red Bull. So as I say, I do think that Alex Albon will have a good stellar race here, get some good points, get himself high up in the World Championship, which obviously at the moment he is quite low down, to be a Red Bull driver. Obviously he's only been in there for 2 races. I do think that it'll be a good race for the British driver, and let's hope that he can get on the podium. The first time I've actually ever said somebody who's not in our normal circle of the Ferraris or the Mercedes, and fun fact, me and Jordan have never said Pierre Gasly. That's weird, isn't it? So the second Red Bull driver is now finally getting a mention. So well done, Red Bull, for getting your second driver on the podium, hopefully. In second place is Max Verstappen. Now, Max Verstappen, he does well around here, but I would say better than is expected. Red Bull do have a great chassis and a great component, and quite a great fight around here. Sebastian Vettel kind of never had to walk his races at Red Bull in Singapore. It was still a big fight, to get the battle through. But as I've just said there, with driver physicality, it's so much more about, just the car. And again, also that comes back to Alexander Albon. Those 2 drivers say that, they are young, they're hungry, they're on the peak of the physical, the physicality side of it. And, even though you might have to have a cool head and you might have to have the experience around Singapore, it does come down to the physicality and how, good are you personally around this circuit. So that's why I think Alex Albon will get into third and Max will get into second. Of course, he does very well around here. He started on the front row of the grid before. Last year, he lined up against Lewis Hamilton, where he did finish in second place. Basically, all race long, he was battling Lewis Hamilton, trying to also keep Sebastian at bay, the Ferrari at bay, and also catch Lewis Hamilton. It was great to see as well. Obviously, I got a lot more admiration for Max in that race, so I do think that a strong second place will be good for them. And also, Red Bull could maximise or get close to maximising their points this year. Also, as well, going back to the drivers, Max Verstappen is on 185 points with Charles Leclerc on 182. So Charles Leclerc has made a massive push to leapfrog his teammate, but is also 3 points behind and very close to Max in third place. Now, Max Verstappen, of course, is going for the 2020 World Championship. We're making a video very, very soon about that. Is he a contender? And he will not want that to happen, if he does slip down. So that'll be a big race for Red Bull, maximising their points. And in first place, I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton of Mercedes. Now, of course, he absolutely loves this circuit after his blistering lap here in qualifying. Amazing to keep that car really cool as well. He has driven here in all of the editions of the Singapore Grand Prix. He knows his track like the back of his hand. Mercedes have an amazing car, really will be able to adapt to this circuit. And yeah, I just think in terms of the physicality, as I just said there before, with Lewis, will just basically be on top. I can see almost a domination by Lewis this weekend, maybe with a few, peaks by Max and things like that, maybe other drivers, but obviously on the podium, it's just those 2 to 3 drivers, and Lewis will take the top spot, extend his lead in the World Championship, and I think that the US Grand Prix is where Lewis will lift the World Championship, especially in this race if Valtteri stays clear of the podium. So that's my top 3, Alexander Albon, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. I say that is my podium for the Singapore Grand Prix. You've seen at the start there the clip of the podium, an amazing spectacle there. I really wish I was there in 2019, but I know quite a few of you are going as well. Yes, so that's my predictions. Let's pass over to Jordan and see what his predictions are and the drivers that he is watching for this year's event in Singapore.
My predictions for the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix. Now, before I jump into my predictions, I just wanted to say that we are still running this prediction league that we've got going on. If you haven't heard about it, basically we're just doing a little prediction league at the F1 Debate Show on our Twitter, on our Facebook, on our YouTube as well. In the previews, we'll advertise it at some point, which is what I'm doing now. So basically, you just tell us your top 3 for the Grand Prix, that is taking place. For example, this weekend it's the Singapore Grand Prix. So you tell us your top 3. You can comment underneath this video. We'll give it a heart or give it a love, and then at least you know that we have seen the message, we've seen your predictions, and then you will be submitted into our league over on our Twitter at F1_day16 or on our Facebook page, just simply the F1 Debate Show. We'll be posting reminders every so often, so you could just comment underneath that post in particular, and then you will be entered. Of course, you don't have to enter. You just tell us your predictions for the race, and then just say at the end, "Oh, by the way, guys, I don't want to be entered." We've got a lot of people interested in so far, and more people seem to be coming in and adding their name onto the to the prediction league. It'll be the 3rd round this weekend for the prediction league. It's still on a bit of a trial run to see if people are still interested by the end of the season, and of course into next season. But if you are interested, then please join. As like I said, your top 3 in the comment section below or over on our social medias. So the Singapore Grand Prix, one of my favourite Grand Prix of the calendar. It's tough, it's long, it's dark. Anything could happen in Singapore, couldn't it? I think it's been a safety car in every single round since the inaugural I'll get my words out eventually. Since the inaugural Grand Prix back in 2008. So yeah, safety car is definitely one to watch out for. Anyway, so my top 3 and the predictions I'm going to enter into the league with. So I'm going to go with 3rd place Valtteri Bottas. Now, Bottas finished in P2 last time out in Italy. Good result from him. He needs to bounce back in form, doesn't he, guys? He's been off a bit of form the past 4 or 5 races now. He hasn't won a Grand Prix since Azerbaijan. And if he doesn't win a Grand Prix this season, it'll take him to 2 wins in 2 years, which, if you think about it, it's pretty poor from a driver who is at a top team and in a really fast car. So Bottas will need to have a good weekend. However, I don't think that'll be the case this weekend. I think the 3rd place is the best he could probably hope for. Maybe a P2 if someone ahead slips up. But for me, Bottas he's not pulling his weight a little bit. He needs to do a bit more. I think he's having a good season because he's had them 2 wins, 4 pole positions, I think, so far. But he's on a bit of a downward spiral. He needs something to boost him up. Hopefully, he'll win this Grand Prix if he can. But I can't say it because you'll understand with my next 2 predictions. So I think for me, Bottas 3rd place is probably the best you might get. But if he doesn't perform, easily could be pipped to 3rd place by another driver, which I will mention at the end of my segment. So in 2nd place, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen. Now, it was a tricky one to predict as to who was going to win. It was between 2 drivers, and I'm going to risk it, and I'm going to say Max Verstappen in P2. Now, I'm expecting Verstappen to be strong this weekend, not just him, Red Bull in general. I think Albon might be in the mix for a podium. Red Bull have a really good car. Well, when it comes to chassis anyway, they have a really good car, and they do tend to excel at the likes of Singapore. They have been good here in the past. They have won here in the past. And, Verstappen has had a good record here so far. So I'm expecting a good performance from Max. He's had 2 pretty bad rounds. I think Spa was a bit, I don't know what was going through his mind. In Italy as well, I don't know. Again, I was a bit like, I don't know what's going on with Max at the moment. But I think he'll just forget what's happened. He knows the car will be strong this weekend. That's what Red Bull were aiming for. Red Bull know that this track will suit their car better than the last 2 rounds. So not just a podium will be on their minds, certainly the race win without a shadow of a doubt. But my race winner easily would be Lewis Hamilton. Now, Hamilton, in terms of Hamilton form, he's on a bit of a not a good patch at the moment. I think he's won one out of the last 4 races, which for Hamilton standards is quite poor. So he will certainly want to correct that. He has more or less wrapped up the World Championship, but who knows? There's still 7 rounds left to go, and if he continues this kind of, not I wouldn't say bad form, but if he doesn't win as many races as he has done at the start of the season, then who knows, might be knocking at the door for that championship. But, I don't want to cause anything just yet. I do want to kind of, I expect Hamilton to do well at this Grand Prix. Last year, you did a storming job in qualifying, storming job in the Grand Prix. And Mercedes have actually won here the past 3 races, and I think they've won here 4-5 times overall, which I think is a record. So, and again, Hamilton's won here 4 times, which is the joint record with Sebastian Vettel, who's also won here 4 times. So I think Hamilton will more or less have this in the bag. Qualifying good, race pace. To be fair, the chassis on that car is solid. Mercedes have tended to struggle here in the past, but as the years have went on, they're kind of, all right, I think this track is going to be good for them. 2017, they were lucky with what happened at the start. They probably shouldn't have won that Grand Prix, but it's always, if whoever's at the front messes up and it's not Mercedes, then they're always there to pick up the pieces, which I think will be the exact same. But there will be no pieces to pick up, because I think Mercedes will walk away with this. For me, Lewis Hamilton I think he'll have a good weekend, a dominant weekend, and hopefully, well, I say hopefully, maybe probably put this championship to bed once and for all. I think it's coming as to when he will be officially world champion. I think Mercedes will get the constructors in the next couple of rounds. I think it's Japan for the predictions. For the constructors title, and I think I did say Hamilton Hamilton will win the championship at the US Grand Prix. However, I forgot that US and Mexico have swapped places, so it'll be Mexico before the US. So Mexico is after Japan. So I think now, we're kind of on the same level of things. I think I'll be predicting Hamilton to win the championship at Mexico, as it has done the past 2 seasons. So yes, that's my top 3: Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen, and Lewis Hamilton. That's my predictions I'm going with our league. And as like I said, if you do want to join our league, then all you have to do is post your top 3 in the comment section below, or over on our social medias. Links to our social medias will be down in the description below. So, ones to watch this weekend. Now, I did mention them briefly in my top 3, which is Red Bull. Red Bull, solid car. Power wise, it's not really that good, but chassis wise, it is always good. And Red Bull seem to do well, kind of in the second half of the season, which I'm expecting them to kick on a little bit of form, because after this one you've got Russia, and then the one after that is the engine's home Grand Prix, which is Japan. So I think they'll be going on, having a good run of form from now on, probably up until maybe the end of the season, or even up until the Mexican Grand Prix, when they seem to do quite well there. So I think Max Verstappen is definitely in contention for a race win. But I also want to give a want-to-watch mention to Alexander Albon. He's been doing quite well in the last 2 races that he's been with the team. Now, we're going to see how Albon can handle the pressure in a racetrack where he knows the car should be at the top of the spectrum. I'm talking like Albon can get a podium this weekend. At least P4 is the least, or the minimum, Albon should be getting. For me, Ferrari is a write-off. I know they've done well the past 2 Grand Prix, but those tracks have certainly helped them. The engine has certainly benefited them in the past 2 Grand Prix. It suited their car. This one, no, the chassis isn't that all well. And for me, I think Ferrari will be an absolute write-off, P5 or P6. But if something happens up ahead, let's say Ferrari can again pick up the pieces, like what I mentioned, what Mercedes do. So yes, I think Albon will be in for a good weekend if he can get the car where he wants it to be. If he can, keep up with the likes of Verstappen and Bottas, I think that's the guys he'll be racing. And we should hopefully see a different side to Albon. And now, right, okay, let's see what he can do under a real kind of pressure situation. Because in Spa, like he got an engine penalty. In Monza, the car, it wasn't really there or thereabouts, was it? Because of, it's a powerful circuit, and it wasn't going to suit the car. So really, we didn't really think of Red Bull as being in contention for the race win, but we do think so this weekend. So I think certainly watch out for Alexander Albon. Some people have already put him in the top three. I think someone has put him in P2 already in our prediction league. I don't think anyone's put him in to win the Grand Prix. I'm not sure anyway. But yeah, I think for me, I think Albon certainly keep a close eye on him. And of course, Haas F1, they're coming into this weekend for the first time this season without the main sponsor, Rich Energy. Now, during the week, Rich Energy and Haas F1 parted ways in what was a ridiculous sponsorship thing. It's weird. It was a weird deal, wasn't it? And a lot of people kind of saw this coming at the start of the season, like, oh, I don't think it'll last the season. You guys were right with that one. It was strange, wasn't it? It was bizarre. And then they've even posted after they announced that that they terminated the deal. They posted like, oh, something about the Haas car in the Rich Energy livery, like, oh, this car's really, really good and all that. And it's like, what? Like, you're not even in partnership with them anymore. What's going on? Weird company. But nevertheless, it's all over. It's all done. Waste of time, in my opinion. So let's hope Haas keeping the black and gold livery for the rest of the season. Should they stick to it? Yes. But for me, I think Haas, I'm used to them having the red, black and white kind of thing going on. So I hope that they do change back to that. But I just want to appreciate the black and gold just for a little bit longer, because I do love that kind of colour. So Haas, what can they do this weekend? I don't know. It's more of a level playing field this weekend, I think, apart from the Williams, of course. But then again, they could do well. Who knows? But because obviously power is not really crucial at a track like this. It's more down to chassis, which a lot of teams are quite close with. That midfield is going to be so close. What can McLaren do this weekend? McLaren, awful form the past two Grand Prix. Have we scored any points? I don't think we have we? No, we haven't. I don't think we've scored any points. Wow. Oh dear. Oh no, Norris scored 1 point in Italy. He did, didn't he? Yes, he did. He scored 1 point in Italy. So 1.2 races. We need more form. We need better form than that. So I think Singapore is a perfect opportunity for McLaren to extend their lead in fourth place and hopefully finish off best of the rest. Carlos Sainz, he had Pierre Gasly in his sight. Gasly's just edging away a little bit, but also, like Carlos Sainz, didn't score any points in Italy. So let's hope Carlos Sainz can close that gap on Pierre Gasly and go for 6th place in the championship. And McLaren hopefully can cement P4 in the constructors. Fingers crossed. So yes, that is the end. That is the end of my segment. As like I said, if you do want to join our prediction league, leave your top 3 in the comment section below. Hope to see your faces there. And yes, back to you, Lal.
Yes, Alexander Albon will be an amazing driver to watch this week. And obviously, I've just said him should be on the podium. Ferrari also as well after their 2 wins with Charles Leclerc. What do you think will happen this week? And obviously, Jordan doesn't think much. Where are they going to finish? I'll say it is very, very tight in the World Championship. Charles Leclerc, 182 points, 3 points behind Max Verstappen. Also, Sebastian Vettel, obviously, he has lost he's lost a lead of Charles Leclerc in the World Championship. He sits all the way down in 5th place, which is very low for him, so it's all to play for from those both sides. So my ones to watch in this race, of course, I'm going to start off with the World Championship leader of Lewis Hamilton. Now, going for 6. That's one thing I wanted to bring into this episode, because a lot of people, at least I kind of forgot about that, and a lot of people don't seem to mention that much. He's going for 6 World Championships, and I don't think that this race, it kind of mirrors that, him going for that. An amazing race. I'll say he's done all those events. He knows this track like the back of his hand. He's really dominated in some of these years, and I do think that he will have a great race here. He's had a lot of history with Singapore, obviously some of the bad retirements that he's had in the past. Remember 2012, as I just mentioned, but remember last year. And obviously, I think that he will get 3 wins on the bounce. An amazing run in Singapore for Lewis. I say he will extend his lead as well. That should at least put him about 100 points clear of Valtteri Bottas. And then obviously heading into, I'm going to predict the US Grand Prix is where he's going to lift the World Championship for the 6th consecutive time. It's also getting very, very close to Mercedes lifting the Constructors' Championship. They might do it this weekend, but I think that might be a little too soon. Possibly Russia. but definitely Japan. So obviously you're getting really close to the crunch for them. They have lifted it here before. I think they've lifted it twice here in the past before. But I'm going to put my money on the Russian Grand Prix, which is actually the next round. So it could be looking very good for Mercedes. And obviously there'll be six constructors winners. The second kind of people to watch, or the team to watch, is Racing Point. Now, they were a really, really exciting team to watch last year. They were really battling throughout qualifying. They had a good hand in qualifying. Qualified quite high up as well. I think it was about 9th and 10th that they got last time out. The race, as you'll have seen from the start, after the big battles that Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon have been having throughout the season, Sergio Perez squeezes quite deliberately Esteban Ocon into the wall. Obviously, you're not going to score points into the wall. Esteban was the first and only retiree of last year's edition. The team were quite annoyed as well, obviously, especially after all the problems that Racing Point had gone through with, what was going to happen to the team, and obviously who was going to hold on to their seat, especially with Lance Stroll kicking around, obviously after Lawrence had bought the team. Some big battles throughout the year. That wasn't going to be a battle with them. They put all their eggs in the basket for Sergio Perez. He collided also with Sergio Sorokin in the race after attaining damage on the car, and obviously finished outside the points in that race. So that wasn't good from the Racing Points as well. I'm hoping that better things will happen this year. Lance Stroll had a good race. He qualified last with Williams, but he had a good race to pull through, just getting on the edge of scoring points in last year's edition. So I'm hoping some good things from him. As I say, Checo will definitely want to rectify probably his worst race of last year. So the guy who kind of pushed Esteban into this really bad situation. Esteban didn't score any points that race, neither did Sergio, but Esteban was looked on worse because he crashed out and obviously didn't retain the seat for this year. So Sergio will want to really get that out of his head and basically push for the best race that he can in Singapore, kind of get rid of those demons. Also as well, Renault 4th and 5th last weekend in 2 weeks ago, in Monza. Absolutely incredible from them. Daniel Ricciardo at 4th place, Nico Hülkenberg at 5th place. Now Daniel Ricciardo is really keen to get on the podium. I was thinking about putting him in my predictions. I just don't think that Renault would have the pace. But in terms of the ability of those two drivers, I definitely think that they have got it all. Daniel Ricciardo is fighting for, as I say, the best position that he can, capitalising on what was the team's best weekend this season. Nico Hülkenberg is still fighting for his seat next year. Now, of course, there is no guarantee where Nico Hülkenberg is going to end up. Obviously, he's lost a seat alongside the Honey Badger at Renault, obviously with Esteban Ocon coming back into play. So that's going to be really good, but obviously Nico Hülkenberg is still fighting for a seat, and this is a make or break race, because obviously if a team can see a driver doing well here, then obviously that will make it for the rest. That will make it for the next season, because I've just said there, driver physicality has to be on top here. So that should be really good from them. Obviously, I'm really excited to see what both those teams, Racing Point and Renault, can do. Ferrari, my views on Ferrari, I don't really have much. Charles Leclerc, will still be really happy about his win. Sebastian Vettel has got all to play for. Of course, we made a video on that, or John made a video on that with the guys from Late Breaking. So please go check that out if you haven't already. I've seen other guys make videos about Sebastian Vettel because he is a really big hot topic at the moment. He's won here before, both with Red Bull and Ferrari. So what is he going to do? And, he needs to pull something out of the bag yesterday almost. He needs to not just perform this weekend, he needs to perform so much this weekend where we kind of forget about what happened in Monza. And if he doesn't, I think we're going to be talking about what happened in Monza like we talked about what happened in Germany 2018 and what happened in France 2018. We're going to be talking about this for a long time. He needs to really rectify what's happening, and obviously get out of the predicament where he is, where he's literally been leapfrogged by his new teammate in the World Championship. So it's great if you are a Charles Leclerc fan, but if you're a Sebastian Vettel fan, it's really bad from that. Obviously, as I just said, he's won with Red Bull and Ferrari, so maybe Sebastian can do something this weekend, but we'll have to see. Anyway, that is the end of my of the Singapore Grand Prix preview. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new around here, please like and subscribe. We are at 920 subscribers. We are on the road to 1,000. Thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed. If you're new around here, if you're just seeing us for the first time, obviously please hit that subscribe button for more content that we have coming up. We've got a brand new series that's just launched on the channel, our F1 debate shows and our review of all of the races heading out of the 2019 season and into 2020. As I say, thank you very much for watching. We have a collaboration coming up very very soon on the F1 Debate Show, so please stay tuned for that. Please go and check out our last video of the F1 Debate Show, where Jordan teamed up with the guys from Late Break and F1, another YouTube channel, to talk about Sebastian Vettel's future in Formula 1. Obviously, as I just said there, what can he do with Ferrari, and what's he going to do here in Singapore, having won here with Red Bull and Ferrari. So thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for our F1 Debate Show and review on Sunday. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later.